Hey, good morning, y'all. Josh's severe weather. We've got a lot of weather to talk about. Happy Monday to you. This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in Him. So let's go ahead and talk about today's weather. And really, I'm going to focus the majority of this video on the upcoming winter storm that's going to impact the country from coast to coast here over the next several days. Huge winter storm. We're looking at our first big snow of the winter season for many across the central and even, I would say, southern plains, and a big snowfall as well when we get into the Ohio River Valley. And in New York City and Philadelphia, this could be your first accumulating snow, believe it or not. We also have a warm side of the storm system. Severe weather is expected as we get into later tomorrow night and into the day on Wednesday on the Gulf Coast region. There could be some tornadoes involved here, certainly some strong winds, and a lot of rain coming from Texas all the way up to the Northeast. So a very big and I want to say wild storm based on how quickly it's going to be moving and how quickly the snow could accumulate here in some areas. So we're going to focus geographically on each region here. The current radar right now, we still have a storm in progress across the Northeast, and it is still snowing in parts of Ohio, Kentucky, even East Tennessee, up through the mountains, with significant snow accumulating right now across northeastern Pennsylvania, right on through eastern New York, and across a good majority of New England. Heavy rain falling across coastal New England, and still some instability showers moving through the Northeast. So a wet Monday morning commute for you. This is from the Penn State eWall. I have been using this site since I was a Penn State meteorology student back in the late 1990s, believe it or not. Drying out this morning across the Southeast. We had a very wet and chilly Sunday here in the Carolinas. We had some lightning, which kind of took a lot of people for surprise last night about 7:30 in the evening in North Raleigh. Just a couple of strikes, that was it. But that instability is well offshore. I'm going to show you guys the satellite so we can start taking a look at the next storm system. Here is this is from Tropical Tidbits. Here's the upper low and a big trough carving across the eastern part of the country. You can see the spin across the Tennessee Valley. That is now moving east, taking all the moisture out to sea here across the eastern U.S. But with that trough axis, we still have quite a bit of lifting air across the mid and upper levels of the atmosphere, quite a bit of moisture. So this will be moving out and away from New England later in the day today. The next storm, though, is already spinning down across southwestern Arizona, and this is a very deep trough carved all the way down. You guys can kind of see the swirl here. And it's going to be drawing in a lot of Pacific moisture. This is a very active southern branch of the jet stream, the subtropical jet. Here's the Arctic branch, and it takes a massive drop southward. And by the time it starts circulating eastward tomorrow, it's going to be picking up moisture from the Gulf of Mexico and producing a very dynamic storm with cooling aloft, leading to rain changing over to heavy wet snow here in North Texas into Oklahoma. And that is going to track right across the meat of the country here into the Northeast as we get into Tuesday night, Wednesday, and into early on Thursday. So we're going to take a look here at what to expect. The European upper level chart shows you very, very well-defined trough right here across the eastern United States this afternoon. And here's our upper low that is dropping down from near Las Vegas and Kingman, Arizona, down into northern Mexico. That is going to increase the winds aloft here and allow for a lot of forcing to produce some rain and thunderstorms across central Texas during the morning tomorrow and East Texas tomorrow afternoon. This will be responsible for some severe weather as well as wintry weather, and the two are not going to be too far apart. Around the end of the day on Tuesday, we could be dealing with a situation where there are thunderstorms across East Texas and heavy snow falling up along and just north of the Red River Valley, just a couple hundred miles off to your northwest. So a very dynamic storm. You can see 100-knot winds at 500 millibars coming out of the west and southwest, coming around the base of this trough here. And that will continue to expand eastward and actually intensify when it gets to the lower Mississippi Valley Tuesday night. With 110-knot plus winds coming out of this jet, I do expect there to be severe weather along the Gulf Coast, and I'm going to get to that after I talk about the wintry part of the storm. It is moving pretty quickly. With these winds aloft enhancing themselves, this storm system is going to be zipping pretty quickly, so it's not going to be a 3-day event. Really, for most people, we're talking about a 24-hour event, maybe a little bit more, and I'll get into more details of that After that trough moves out of here on Thursday, we still see quite a bit of fast flow aloft, but the weather pattern definitely quiets down some and allows some colder air to drop down from the middle of Canada into the northern Rockies and Plains at the end of this week. This is the European surface chart, and we can see storm number one moving out of New England here this morning, and that is going to move away into Canada. Still snow falling through tonight, though, across eastern Maine, and some mountain and lake enhanced snowfalls here right on through the day today over the eastern Ohio Valley and into the mountains of North Carolina and East Tennessee right on through this afternoon, but that should weaken by tonight. High pressure builds in. It'll be a chilly night across the southeast and a nice day for tomorrow. Next storm comes through Texas. We have snow falling just north of San Angelo, right along and north of I-20. This is around 9 a.m. Central Time tomorrow. Heavy snow across New Mexico and northwestern Texas, and then expanding into Oklahoma. In the Oklahoma City region, we could actually see a little bit of rain in the morning tomorrow before a change over to some heavy wet snow with temperatures still above freezing. However, because we have kind of an isothermal temperature profile, that means with snow falling heavily and falling downwards, even though temperatures near the ground could be above freezing, what is falling is not going to have the opportunity to melt. And so it'll be a heavy snowfall, which may initially melt on contact with the ground, but will not change back to rain due to the heavier precipitation rate. We need the rain here in central Texas. We're going to get it here tomorrow, maybe some thunderstorms, especially in southeast Texas. Could be a very stormy evening commute tomorrow in the Houston area. And then into Louisiana and Mississippi tomorrow night, we start seeing the groundwork for some stronger storms and maybe even some severe weather at night, which could produce some dangerous weather conditions here in southeastern Louisiana and southern Mississippi, as we're now talking about overnight hours with people asleep and the threat for maybe a few embedded tornadoes and supercell storms. Heavy snowfalls into tomorrow night in Oklahoma City before things wrap up later tomorrow night. As we get into the overnight hours, the Ozarks will have heavy snow. And out ahead of this, an interesting scenario here where we have snow falling across Pennsylvania all the way over into Philadelphia Wednesday morning, with some sleet and freezing rain along and east of the Appalachians from North Carolina up into western Maryland. We'll see snow in northern Kentucky that actually changes over to rain in the morning on Wednesday. So Louisville could pick up a few inches of snow Wednesday morning before a change over to rain later in the morning and into the afternoon hours, and maybe even a few thunderstorms across East Tennessee and Kentucky. So it stands a chance that parts of eastern Kentucky, far southern Ohio, and West Virginia could have snow changing to thunderstorms by early to mid-afternoon on Wednesday. We see a lot of rain across the southeast on Wednesday, maybe thunderstorms, which could be strong from Florida up into southeastern Virginia. And at night, we see snow in Philadelphia and New York City falling probably a couple of inches, especially when you get north and west of 95. And then a change over to rain, which will be heavy, and maybe even a few thunderstorms. So New York City on Wednesday, we may be dealing with some wet snow in place for the evening commute, followed by thunderstorms later in the evening and overnight as that mild air surges up the East Coast and our front lifts northward up into New England. So a very dynamic storm system. As the low pressure system makes its way into southeastern Canada and western New York, it encounters of course, what typically happens, encounters the Appalachians, and a new low pressure forms over New England, and that will move up the coast of Maine and produce some heavy rain in places that are getting snow this morning on Thursday, followed by a change back to some snow. A lot of cold air aloft follows in behind this trough, so we will likely see snow falling in parts of middle and eastern Tennessee and Kentucky, and into parts of the Ohio Valley right on into early Friday morning. That should let up and lead to some quieter weather by Friday afternoon. I'm not going to talk about anything beyond this storm because there's a lot to talk about, but once we get this out, we'll obviously be able to talk about the next several, which I do think we do end the month of January on the unsettled side here. All right, so here's a look at the European, and we look at the heavy snow falling today across New England and the Northeast. Then the next storm gets going here, and we see the potential for significant snow from Arizona, New Mexico, and North Texas, right on across the St. Louis area up into southeastern Michigan and northwest Ohio, and then across a good chunk of the Northeast. Pretty much everyone in the Northeast will see snow out of this, but obviously the places that haven't seen much aren't going to really get that much here on Wednesday. The GFS model is kind of more of the same. It does have some heavier amounts across Oklahoma and the Ozarks region of Arkansas and Missouri. And you can see that cuts up towards Detroit and kind of ramps up here in southeastern Canada and across northern New York and northern parts of New England Wednesday night into Thursday morning. And then that heads out, and we could see some decent amounts of snow here, maybe an inch or so across the plateau region here of the Ohio Valley Thursday night, Friday morning, with heavier amounts across the Appalachians and the Smoky Range, the Smokies here on early Friday morning. The NAM shows a lot of rain as well. This obviously is a storm that's wrapping up here today. Our next storm could produce a few inches of liquid precipitation in places that really could use that in central and eastern Texas. Dallas, and especially Fort Worth, College Station, Houston, Beaumont, and then right into Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, and the southeast. Once again, we do have the potential for significant rain, with the heavier amounts likely to be from the Delmarva on up into coastal northeast. We are certainly getting sick of the rain in Long Island, New York City, New Jersey, southern New England, but unfortunately the storm track has not shifted a lot here, and we continue to get bombarded with heavy amounts of rain Wednesday into Thursday. So the total snow from the NAM, I'm going to show you guys the NAM here a little bit more, give you an idea of where maybe the heavier bands set up. You could see significant amounts, over a foot across parts of the mountains of the Southwest, and then several inches across Texas and Oklahoma. Probably staying north and west of the Metroplex, though. More likely getting into the middle parts of Oklahoma, eastern Oklahoma, just north and west of Little Rock, right up to St. Louis, Springfield, Illinois, into central Indiana. So Indianapolis will get several inches. Detroit looks like as well across the interior of the Northeast here. Maybe significant snow over northern parts of Pennsylvania along the I-80 corridor and on northward, and certainly once again for New Hampshire and Maine as we get towards the middle part of the week. I'm going to zoom in and show you guys Texas, and that includes Oklahoma here as well. And we're likely looking at about a foot of snow in the New Mexico range here tonight, and into tomorrow morning we start seeing some pretty significant snow over the Panhandle region, and then moving towards Wichita Falls in northwestern Texas. As we go into the morning hours, we start to see a very heavy amount of wet snow falling in southwestern Oklahoma. So right around Altus and Wichita Falls, right across the Red River here, we do have the potential to see maybe upwards of a foot of snow, and most of that will fall in about an 8 to 12 hour period. So a very wet, heavy snow will fall, and that could cause some power outages here in southwest Oklahoma and northwest Texas. Here's Dallas-Fort Worth, and looks like we're going to miss out once again here, just not looking like a major winter storm in Dallas. But when you get up to the Red River north of McKinney, we could see an inch or so of snow. Right across the river, though, Ardmore up into Oklahoma City, Tulsa, and especially south and east of Tulsa, and towards Fayetteville, Arkansas, maybe even towards Fort Smith, we do likely see the potential for about a 5 to 10 inch snowfall. Amounts, of course, will vary based on where the snowfall is heaviest, where it sticks the most, and where we have higher elevations, we're likely to see a magnet for higher amounts of snow. As we look, and by the way, El Paso's probably not going to see much snow, but the mountains around you in El Paso certainly could see some snow. We'll shift north and show you guys the northern part of the storm. Wichita could see a couple inches of snow. Topeka, maybe an inch. Kansas City could see a couple of inches tomorrow night into Wednesday morning. Even Omaha and Lincoln are kind of on the northern fringe of this potential to see a little bit of accumulating snow. But most of the amounts above 5 inches remain south of the Oklahoma and Kansas border. Now we'll spread northeast and take a look here at the lower Ohio Valley here in Missouri, and we likely see in St. Louis the potential for close to 6 inches of snow. Basically, the Interstate 44 corridor here is the dividing line between a moderate snowfall and a heavy snowfall, and I would not be shocked if 44 were not really travelable here tomorrow night. We could have very dangerous road conditions along this major thoroughfare here into the St. Louis area. In central and southern Illinois, some more encouraging amounts here for you in Chicago. Looked like a couple of days ago when I cut my video, Chicago was going to be the dividing line. Now it looks like Milwaukee is going to be a dividing line, and we could see a couple inches around Chicagoland here late tomorrow night and especially Wednesday morning. Higher amounts, though, once again across central and downstate Illinois into central Indiana. Good possibility we could see 4 to 6 inches of snow across the Indianapolis region, and then that will spread north and east into Michigan. Farther south, around Louisville, it looks like we're kind of right on the line here where we may see a quick inch or two of snow, depending on where the heaviest amounts set up before we see a shift over to rain. Farther up the river, Covington, Kentucky, over to Cincinnati, though, it's going to be kind of right on the line between maybe just an inch of snow to maybe 3 or 4 inches in the Cincinnati area, with higher amounts up towards Dayton. All right, we'll keep going in Ohio since I did bring you guys up. We see the snow leaving eastern Ohio, and here comes the next batch. And Columbus could see a few inches of snow, higher amounts north of 80, it looks like, across north central parts of Ohio. Detroit could see 4, 5, maybe 6 inches of snow. The Kashera does even indicate maybe 7 inches in the western suburbs of Detroit, and kind of a few spots that could pick up locally heavier snow. And as we shift eastward into Pennsylvania and New York, obviously we've got the storm leaving this morning, but the next storm moves in pretty quickly, and it looks like Clearfield, Center County, over to Lewistown, and all the way over to Hazleton could pick up 3 to 6 inches of snow and maybe locally higher amounts across the Appalachian Trail region. And definitely the Poconos could pick up quite a bit of snow here too. Even Williamsport, we see on the NAM model the potential for 8 inches of snow. I would not be shocked if some of these numbers ended up a little bit too high compared to what I think we're going to see, but nonetheless, this could be a quick hitting heavy snowfall on Wednesday across central and northern Pennsylvania, northwestern New Jersey, as well into upstate New York, especially the Hudson River Valley and on west towards the Catskills. Could be a pretty good dividing line between just an inch or two of snow to maybe as much as 6 to 8 inches of snow over the Catskills region and into northwestern New Jersey as well. Notice here in New York City, the NAM model goes bonkers here with 4 inches of snow on Manhattan, 2 to 3 inches of snow on Long Island, 2 to 3 as well around the Interstate 78 corridor between Allentown and the bridge crossings here. So we could see, I don't want to say it's a surprise, but for a storm that looks like it's going to be very wet for us here on the East Coast, could start out as a very quick burst of heavy snow, causing some significant issues for those of you that try to get home here on Wednesday afternoon. This snow moves in here right around 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon around New York City, and the afternoon commute could be a real mess here on Wednesday across all of the tri-state region. So that's what I'll be watching for you guys here. New England's going to see heavy snow. We've kind of already known that, where Maine has picked up 5, 6 inches of snow, and then the next model run brings in maybe up to a foot of snow to the west and north of Portland, and mainly across the White Mountain Range and across much of central Maine, with lower amounts as we get up into northern Maine. So this is going to be a very dynamic storm, and a shift just to the north and west could bring lower amounts here and more ice to rain. A shift east could bring these heavier amounts all the way down to Portland and Augusta, Maine. So a lot to talk about here. Here's what the NAM's radar looks like. This is this morning, and then this is this afternoon. Snow lets up this evening on Cape Cod. Our next storm gets cranking in New Mexico. We start to see some rain across Texas, maybe a few thunderstorms before the day breaks here on Tuesday, and heavy snow spreads into Oklahoma Tuesday morning, and then eastern Oklahoma and Arkansas Tuesday afternoon, and then wraps up. So we're probably just talking about a 12-hour event for most places here across the southern United States. We see heavy rain and thunderstorms on the Gulf Coast region tomorrow night into Wednesday morning. That shifts eastward, and we see a heavy amount of snow here, according to the NAM, across Pennsylvania and New York on Wednesday, right around and after lunchtime Wednesday. Also significant snow across the Great Lakes region, light snow across the upper Midwest and Dakotas. And this storm system will become more dynamic with warm air flooding the East Coast here with heavy rainfall all the way from northern Florida up into the eastern parts of the Carolinas, the Delmarva, Mid-Atlantic region. This is early in the night on Wednesday night, so about 9, 10 o'clock, and then moving up into New England, and it's going to be a very wet overnight in Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Long Island, with heavy snow across Maine. As we get into Thursday, snow showers flood parts of the Tennessee Valley. We could see some sticking to the grass, even in Nashville, Tennessee, but especially north and east of you up towards Lexington, Kentucky, and Columbus, Ohio. That's early Thursday morning. We still see snow showers into Thursday afternoon as well. Let's talk about severe weather, because we will have that as well. Today, just a risk for a few thunderstorms across the southern peninsula of Florida, ending around Miami and Naples. Tomorrow, we see thunderstorms likely from Texas into Alabama at night. There's now an enhanced risk for severe weather, which includes a risk for some tornadoes, and a few could be strong. That will be across the Acadiana region of Louisiana through southeast Louisiana, the Florida parishes, southern Mississippi, southern Alabama, and moving into the western panhandle of Florida late at night. All these storms have the potential to produce a few tornadoes and damaging winds. The majority of the severe weather risk comes after dark, so this could be a very dangerous setup. I'm not sure if we're going to see a lot of strong tornadoes, but I would not be shocked if we saw 1 or 2 based on those strong winds aloft. As we head into the day Wednesday, right now a marginal risk for severe weather. I do think southern Georgia and South Carolina, maybe up into eastern North Carolina, could end up seeing a slight risk. But at that point, we're seeing primarily a straight line wind event, less likely a tornado event. If there are tornadoes Wednesday, I think they're going to be down in here around Tallahassee and then across south central and southeastern Georgia, which unfortunately just got hit with a few tornadoes last night. The same area is under the gun for the day on Wednesday and ending early Wednesday night. And then the threat for strong winds coming with a line of storms moving through the eastern Carolinas, southeast Virginia, and the eastern shore here later Wednesday evening. And I did want to show you guys, this is the tornado outlook for tomorrow night. It's not zero. Could include Galveston all the way down to Brazosport, Texas here. But the enhanced risk includes significant tornado chances from right around New Iberia and Lafayette on to about Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Houma, Thibodaux, Louisiana, as well as across Gulfport, Biloxi, Pascagoula, all the way up to Hattiesburg, Mississippi. I think this area really has to watch out. Franklinton, Louisiana, right on up to Hattiesburg and the Pine Belt region, and then across the Mobile Bay area as well. Daphne, Fairhope under the gun, Pensacola, all the way maybe to as far east as Crestview, Florida. The threat for some damaging winds in here as well, as you can imagine, a 30% risk of severe weather. And as we key in on that, I'm going to show you all the 850 millibar winds. You can see a strong flow out of the south here at the end of the day on Tuesday, and these winds enhance themselves Tuesday evening with 85 knot winds. That's almost 100 miles per hour as we get to about 5,000 to 10,000 feet above the ground. So a strong low-level jet here, and we still see those strong winds aloft impacting Louisiana and Mississippi in the evening. So definitely a setup for some rotating storms and a lot of wind to deal with. Could be some strong wind shear here, which produces these severe storms. As we get into the day Wednesday, that area lifts north and away from the area that's got some most instability. And that's why the risk for severe weather is lower Wednesday morning, but it is not zero. As we get to Wednesday afternoon, you can see there's still some strong winds aloft, kind of a band here of 50 to 60 knot winds, while the stronger winds aloft carry up into the mid-Atlantic region where there won't be enough instability for severe weather, but there could be a few stronger storms or at least stronger gusts of wind involved with rain. So definitely something we're watching here. The K-index shows you guys instability, and it's not super high, but numbers in the 30s certainly are supportive of thunderstorms. And you guys can kind of see as we go into Georgia here, we lose a lot of instability, and a lot of this is more elevated thunderstorms. So we could hear some loud thunder and see lightning, but the risk for severe weather is more confined to the Gulf Coast here Wednesday morning. And believe it or not, we do have the risk for thunder in places that could be dealing with snow 6 hours earlier in south and central New Jersey and southeastern Pennsylvania. And that would be Wednesday evening and then moving out to sea here Wednesday at night. The supercell composite index starts climbing here tomorrow around midday over the Big Bend of Texas, but it is not super high. It's confined mainly to the coastal region. And then as we get into Louisiana, the threat for supercell storms does climb across Plaquemines Parish, St. Bernard Parish, Lafourche Parish in Louisiana. And that's where I think our strongest chance for tornadoes could end up being. And this is about 10 o'clock Central Time tomorrow night and carrying into the Gulf Coast region of Alabama here overnight. So around 2 in the morning, Mobile could be under the gun. Lightning flash density. This will be the last graphic I could show you guys here real quick. You can see a lot of lightning here, despite the instability being kind of marginal. But it's mostly confined to the Houston area region tomorrow afternoon, then tomorrow night across South Louisiana, late at night across the central Gulf Coast states, and then Wednesday, we still have the risk for some thunderstorms across central and south Georgia, northern Florida, and then spreading into the Carolinas here in the afternoon, and then up the coast in the evening. Notice there are a few lightning strikes possible here across New Jersey and across Long Island here later Wednesday night. So a lot more we'll talk about tomorrow as we pin down snow amounts and severe weather likelihoods here, but I do appreciate y'all's time today. If you could like this video, if you have questions about the weather, I'm happy to answer those at my convenience. And I would appreciate it if you haven't already, if you could subscribe to Josh's Severe Weather's YouTube channel and visit my Facebook page as well. Thank you all so much for your time today. God bless you. This is the day that the Lord has made, and I want to give all the glory to God through his son, Jesus Christ. I wanted to read to you all real quick, if you're still watching, Psalm 133, a song of ascents of David. How great and pleasant it is when God's people live together in unity. It is like precious oil poured on the head, running down on the beard, running down on Aaron's beard, on the collar of his robe. It is as if dew of Hermon were falling on Mount Zion, for there the Lord bestows his blessing, even life forevermore. And the word of this verse is unity, and that is bringing people together to worship God at once. The world out there is very divided right now between believers and non-believers, and even amongst believers. And I'm going to assume a lot of you that are watching at this point still are believers. I know some of you aren't, and that is fine. I'm not here to judge that. But it's to see things the same way as our fellow Christians. And I worship a wonderful congregation that I'm not going to say is divided, but we have a good diversity of people from all walks of life. A lot of white people, a lot of black people, Asians, Hispanics. We've got a very nice microcosm of what's going on worldwide. We also have political division, though. And I think, when it comes to politics, and I really don't sway one way or the other, just to be honest with everybody here. I believe that I am a child of God, not a child of the Republican Party or the Democratic Party or Libertarian Party. But the abundance of people coming together to worship God and bringing people together is very good and pleasant when they can live together in unity and not create division. When we can come together in the face of disasters, in the face of economic turmoil, in the face of a pandemic, then that pleases God. And so my charge to you is to see past the differences of other people, come together and be there for them. Love your neighbor, love your friend, treat people like they're your brother or sister. Actually treat them better than that, because that is what is pleasing to God. And in the end, what matters is that you accept Jesus Christ as your Savior. Even though you're a sinner, you have the gift of eternal life through Jesus Christ, John 3:16. That means a lot to me, and I really hope it means a lot to you. So I really appreciate y'all's time today. I wish you a wonderful Monday. Please be safe out there. If you're getting snow and you haven't seen it yet, please enjoy it, but please be safe. Thank you all. Have a blessed day.